This is Scott Conway, and we need to talk. We need to be able to communicate with people we disagree with, or we will never solve any problems. Now, I have a strategy. It doesn't always work. Let me show you a part of what I was doing so you can kind of see my approach, and I hope this will help you guys. So when you take a look at, yeah, I had done a post saying I love this after President Barack Obama put out some guidelines that get to work amid George Floyd protests. I believe he was the perfect person to step in and speak up, someone that would be optimally respected by as many people as possible. But as nonpartisan as I am, getting some comments about it being fake news and whatnot. But then here gets to be an interesting thing. So down here, a gentleman says he had 8 years of doing criminal reform and did nothing, played a lot of golf now. Now that President Trump is doing something, wants to say me too, open your brainwashed eyes. And posted a thing, y'all a bunch of puppets. Well, let's take a look and see how I handled this, because I could fight with him. Instead, I quote, it's like, open your brainwashed eyes. That's a curious statement. And, talking about, lauding President Obama for stepping up and saying something, and asking him, I'm curious how you landed at that conclusion. We need to start with a definition and a standard for brainwash and puppet, and how you made that factual determination. Now, someone jumped in talking about the golf thing, which I see as largely being irrelevant to the conversation, which of course I said, I'm not terribly concerned about anyone's golf habits. As that said, I'm still curious about brainwashed and puppet. And as we came back around, notice he never answered the question. He comes at me personally and says, I'm lost, you have trouble understanding this. You used to teach martial arts with a Christian name in the title. How could you support a president who is very pro-choice, supports homosexuality and such and whatnot? And then he disappeared. And then, noting down here that I had a thread going on with him, and and I explained myself and kind of how I approached it and why I did it that way there. But he said they were brainwashed, y'all a bunch of puppets. Now, up here you see I have Ohana, I have my martial arts logo, I have my church logo. So his closing remark was like, okay, well, I'm going to figure out how can I attack him on these. I can't attack him on Ohana because I don't know enough about what that is, but I can attack him on martial arts, and I can attack him on his faith, because I can see that those are obviously important to him. And then he just disappears. Now, note though, I'm not fighting with him. I'm having a conversation because, and this is important, it's not just the conversation I'm having with him. It's other people witnessing the conversation that is going on. And so as part of people witnessing the conversation that's going on, I'm not just having an engagement with the person like I might if I was on the phone or if I was on a call just with that person. These things are playing out in public. And so when you have an argument or a debate, or you make statements in a public video, on a Facebook Live, in a post thread, and you do anything like that, you are putting it out in front of an audience. And when you put it out in front of an audience, you need to be aware that you are having people bear witness to how you handle these things. So I note here, I had a thread going on, chosen as a strategy to attack. Side issue of golf playing, which is curious that he accuses Obama of just playing golf, when of course Trump plays a lot of golf, which is just as curious, by the way, when anti-Trump people accuse Trump of playing golf when Obama played golf. Presidents play golf. It's a common thing. The issue is what of the nation's work is getting done. And there are questions by others, obviously willing to engage on the facts, but he never did define his terms, and he took a parting shot and he left. At no point having engaged on the issues or defined his terms. Now, in this particular case, this guy's a Trump supporter. I get this from both sides. I'm a libertarian. I tend to be for or against what either major party is doing, about 50-50. And so I'll be as supportive of Trump as I was of Obama, as I was of Bush, as I was of Clinton, as I was of Bush 1, as I was of Reagan, and as I was of Carter. And Carter was who was president when I was coming of age. So he was the first president I was really aware of and that I was paying any attention to. But in general for me, because it's not gonna be my party president anyway. And so it's just a matter of, well, which part of what I believe in are they likely to be doing, and are they likely to be undoing or opposing? So I'm kind of in the middle of all of this anyway. But if you take a look at this, and I'm sorry I've got these messages popping up in the middle of my illustrations. I'm trying to put it in here is to think about how you handle people that disagree with you, and think about how you're going to approach not just these particular issues, but if you track and see how I handle things, I'm telling you what you can expect from me when you and I disagree. Because just being humans, you and I are going to disagree sometimes. And how do we handle that? Now, I know there's a whole bunch of my business friends, the way they handle it is they just leave it out. Just not going to talk about it, not going to mention it, or they'll try to take as unobtrusive a position as possible, one that has the least in the way of anything controversial in it. Because people have been fired for having an opinion that deviates from the officially acceptable opinions, and that someone is deciding what is and is not acceptable, and then there's consequences born because someone had an opinion, rather than have a conversation about the differences of opinion so that you can maintain some connection. And here's a big one: if you believe in your side, do you want to have more people on your side, or do you want to have fewer people on your side? I would expect we want more, that we want something that will be more than just the emotional intensity we have going on, that there will be some conversation about some concrete problems so that we can implement something that will actually solve defined problems. And I'm going to get into that idea of define the problem, solve the problem in another video. But be able to have the conversations, talk to people, find out what they mean. And some of people who just want to fight, they'll just disappear because they've got no place to go. You're not feeding a fight, and that they reveal themselves, and often they will disengage. But maybe, just maybe, they'll actually have to stop and really think about their case. And it's always possible they'll have a point that may not have occurred to you. Now, here's the thing. Their point may not have occurred to you doesn't mean that they're right and you're wrong. But what it may mean is that there's something you hadn't thought of that would be a good idea to be prepared to deal with. Now, admittedly, that's kind of a lawyer thing, that I need to be able to argue the opposing party's side so I don't get blindsided, so I am prepared to deal with the opposing arguments. So I hope this helps be able to deal with all of the differences of opinions you're going to be running into and be able to have some productive conversation.